it's February. We go down, or I go down to the combine in 2 weeks, week and a half. From there, all we talk about is who the Pittsburgh Steelers add, lose, and should lose in the meantime. Our boy Jack Markowski came up with this list. What do you got for us?
Yeah, shout out to Jack Markowski on Steelers on SI. Threw out 3 names that the Pittsburgh Steelers should be looking at in free agency this year, and covers all the big positions that I think we've been talking about here over the last couple of weeks. First and foremost, he threw out a wide receiver, and he didn't say T. Higgins, who a lot of people want to see. He didn't say Chris Godwin, who a lot of people want to see. He's bringing some reality checks into this one. Says, what about Darius Slayton? Solid number 2 wide receiver, formerly of the New York Giants. Throws his name out there and makes it a little bit more realistic for what you'd expect the Steelers to do, which is not go out and get the bell of the ball on the offensive side, but go out and get somebody who is undervalued, underrated, and who can come in here and kind of slot in as somebody that people didn't expect to see coming. Outside of that, he says DJ Jones, interior defensive lineman, as an option for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, they're going to be looking for multiple of those over this offseason. He thinks DJ Jones would be a good fit. And to close things out, Jack threw out a cornerback, Byron Murphy. We talked about bell of the balls. He's going to be one of the bells of the ball when it comes to the cornerback class in 2025 for free agency. Markowski says Byron Murphy would be a nice big swing to take to put next to Joey Porter Jr. So Darius Slayton, DJ Jones, and Byron Murphy as 3 free agents the Steelers need to keep their eye on.
Yeah, I like Darius Slayton. I was asked about him this morning. I felt like my answer was good, that he is a lesser T. Higgins, I think, but comes cheaper and probably presents pretty significant upside, which is good. I think he fits into the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was about Darius Slayton last year at the trade deadline. I also am curious to what Darius Slayton could do with a quarterback, because he's never really had a quarter. He had Daniel Jones, who had that one good year, but let's be honest, that was Saquon. That was a lot of Saquon. That was a lot of a good defense. And I don't know if Daniel Jones is Justin Fields capable. I don't know if he's Russell Wilson capable or Aaron Rodgers capable. And I am curious to see what Darius Slayton could bring with a better offense and with a better quarterback, plus a wide receiver next to him, because until this year, he never really had that true number 1 where he could be a number 2. And now he's going to have George Pickens potentially and be able to be that number 2. I think Darius Slayton's a good name. Probably get him for 20 to 25 million bucks, which I think is pretty big and pretty nice for a team like the Steelers. DJ Jones, I'm all about. I like DJ Jones. He's younger. I think he's only 27 years old, maybe 28 years old. I think he brings a lot of value to a position that the Steelers desperately need. And I also think he's realistic. Like Byron Murphy's the guy on this list that I think changes the game for the Steelers. That is a massive pickup. It's a move that, I mean, him and Joey Porter Jr. would be phenomenal. If Beanie Bishop turns into something, it only gets better. You don't have to worry about drafting a guy. He's your big signing. I wouldn't hate it. I really wouldn't. I think he's a little unrealistic. I don't know why I view the cornerback position this way, but I don't view them as a position that the Steelers are going to take a big swing on. I just, for some reason, feel the Steelers will kind of cheap out on the cornerback market. And this comes from nothing outside of me just believing this, that the Steelers will look at Dante Jackson and say he's cheap and reliable, and that's good enough. Whereas in Byron Murphy, he's going to look at, I don't know, what do corners get paid these days? $15 to $20 million a year, and probably demand some type of money that in that area. Are the Steelers gonna shoot for the fences there? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. They haven't talked about it enough to make me feel any differently. That's the unrealistic one in my eyes. Darius Slayton is becoming a name to watch, I think. The more people that talk about him, the more it feels like, if T. Higgins is off the board, maybe we're sleeping on Darius Slayton. And DJ Jones, I like DJ Jones. I'm a big DJ Jones fan, and I think he fits the middle of the defense the way the Steelers need him to.
Yeah, it would be nice to go out and get that guy in free agency to allow yourself to be a little bit more flexible in the NFL draft, not having to get a guy that can sit in there and play nose tackle, but getting somebody that can kind of move around a little bit. We all know that the objective is to get Keanu Benton out of there. That's the primary objective, and DJ Jones does that. The one thing I will say is I feel most strongly about Byron Murphy for a lot of the similar reasons that you feel. It's the same thing that we talked about with DJ Reed. The Steelers have only a handful of big swings this year in free agency that they can make with the cap space that they have. I would much rather you take a bigger swing on a wide receiver than you taking a big swing on a Byron Murphy or a DJ Reed. Would they be good? Yes. Would that make potentially a very good to great cornerback duo in them and year 3 of Joey Porter Jr.? Potentially. But I do think that when you look at how much money has been invested on the defense, you need to have the guys that you already are paying find that success. And I think if I'm going to take a swing, I'd rather take a swing on the offensive side of the football and the wide receiver position especially. So as much as I like Byron Murphy, I think that it falls in the same category as DJ Reed, where I sit there and I say, listen, you only have so many kicks at the can here with big contracts. I just don't think you can spend it on another cornerback.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd be okay with spending it on another corner if you were able to get Darius Slayton for cheap and you were able to, and I'm talking cheap, like under $20 million, and you were able to sign Justin super cheap, again, under $20 million, and DJ Jones or anybody else who's out there came at no price whatsoever. Like, if you were able to do all those things and you were sitting there staring Byron Murphy in the face going, well, we got $30 million. We might as well offer him something. Then great. But it just, in the grand scheme of things where we sit right now, corner just doesn't feel like a position that you're going to take a massive swing on if you're the Steelers. That could change, but it feels like corner will be completely ignored this offseason, where they will get Dante Jackson, and there's a good chance that the Steelers going to the NFL draft, don't touch corner or don't touch them until late, and don't do anything in free agency besides bring back the guy they had last year. Like, you're telling me walking into 2025 with Joey Porter Jr., Dante Jackson, and Corey Trice with Beanie Bishop as your slot doesn't seem like that's a realistic outcome for the Steelers. And I think right now I lean more towards that side than I do making a splash, simply because there just seems to be there's so much conversation everywhere else. There's no conversation there. And there's no conversation there from so many areas. Like, you could have conversations and look at reports. You could have conversations and look at fans, and you could have conversations that you have with people who have some intel. And it just feels like there's just nothing going on. And because of that, I'm a little skeptical on the situation. If you get Dante and Corey Trice and Joey Porter, are you okay with that?
I think you need another decent veteran in that room, because you ran that last year and you got to the point where James Pierre was playing significant minutes and significant snaps for you. So I think you need a better backup plan, because it can't be Cameron Sutton. It just can't. He shouldn't be brought back next year. He showed that an undrafted rookie played at a higher level than he did. And it wasn't just on field. It wasn't just physically, mentally. An undrafted rookie played better than Cameron Sutton. So that can't be your backup plan. James Pierre was okay. But again, I want a better contingency plan if Dante Jackson is brought back, simply because he's another year older. He dealt with injuries all year this year. And yeah, there's a chance that he comes back and all is right in the world and he doesn't get injured next year. But are you really willing to take that bet, especially with Corey Trice being the number 3 behind him, the guy that has only played in about 4 NFL games in 2 years? There's just too many injury questions for me to not sit there and say, yeah, you need to either address it early in the draft, or you need to bring in another veteran that's going to be able to step in at a moment's notice and be a decent starter for you.
Yeah, I don't disagree. A veteran or like a top 3 round rookie, which I think the veteran is much more realistic. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, you have to have that piece. And it stinks it stinks because you have to have a piece that is better than James Pierre, but like even with Corey Trice. You have to have it set up to where you could make Corey Trice your 3, because you want him to develop into the guy. You want him to keep taking steps forward. But your 4th has to be good enough that if Corey goes down and Dante goes down, he's ready. And I think that's the most difficult position the Steelers might have to sign this season, because it's you have to convince a veteran to come play special teams with the understanding that he is the guy who's going to fill in as a starter if somebody goes down. Like that's very difficult. I don't know where you find that guy. I have no idea, but I agree with you. I think that's exactly what the Steelers need. Do they find it? I have no idea. I think a rookie is easier there, but then you're spending top 3 pick on a rookie. What do you need Corey Trice for at that point? Like, it becomes a whole other conversation of how do you handle the cornerback position? I think corner is a very underrated, confusing, and difficult position for the Steelers this offseason. That, the simple answer is bring back Dante Jackson. The more difficult one is how do you replace James Pierre? Where do you go there? And I get it, like you're replacing James Pierre, but James Pierre stepped in late in the season to beat teams like the Bengals. That's not easy to do. You don't want James Pierre in that situation. You want a better player in that situation. Again, it could have been Cam Sutton. That could have been the guy they could have banked on, but I find it really hard to believe they're going to bring him back. And if they do, I don't know. I think it brings concerns. I'm not going to say Cam Sutton's career is over, but the way he looked last year is very troublesome. I don't know if you come out of that hole. I have no idea. So we'll see. Underrated position. Shout out to our boy Jack on a pretty good list.